and cultural issues that concerns Africans and in diaspora. So you are highly welcome to this program. You are here, sir, because we want to talk about the abduction of the leader of the IPOB, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and the possible release of this innocent young man. And we have on a conference, Zoom conference, Nnamdi Kanu's attorney, Barrister Aloy Ejimako. We also have the member of the parliament, like I've said, Andre Hunko. Andre Hunko is here because he wants to listen and want to hear from the horse's mouth. And that is the barrister of Nnamdi Kanu. You want to hear from him what he's going to say about the detention of Nnamdi Kanu by the Nigerian government, the continued detention of Nnamdi Kanu. And Andre, Mr. Hunko also has something to say about what can be done or what he proposals he can make in the Bundesparlament. So that's why both of you are going to be here and we are going to have this discussion today. So gentlemen, once again, you are highly welcome. I'm going to start with you, Barrister. Barrister, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can, loud and clear.
Okay. So Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was abducted by the Kenyan Special Police at the International Airport on 18th June 2021 and subsequently taken to an unknown place or location under inhuman condition. He was unlawfully detained in Kenya for a good 8 days before being transferred to the Nigerian government. So far, he has been accused of a crime bordering on terrorism. But your colleague, Ifeanyi Ejiofor, said that the charges against Nnamdi Kanu have no basis in Nigerian law. Barrister, could you please shed light on this matter?
Yes, thank you, Robinson, for having me on. And I greet you, Mr. Andre. I'm happy to be on the same panel with you. My name, as he said before, is Aloy Ejimako. I'm the special counsel to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Well, you made a reference to the offenses Nigerian government or the allegations the Nigerian government has leveled against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Yes, it's correct to characterize almost all those offenses as having no basis in any written law in Nigeria. I think with the exception of only one allegation. The others are captured under the political offense exception, especially since we are talking about the international law or the laws of Kenya and Nigeria relating to extradition of fugitive suspects from one country to the other. But let me leave that aside for a while and take the charges one by one. If you look critically at this whole thing, you will recall that these offenses stemmed or these allegations were grounded upon the enterprise Nnamdi Kanu has been engaged since 2015, perhaps since 2014, idea from 2015. And that very enterprise is called self-determination. Self-determination, by international law, self-determination is not a crime. As a matter of fact, it's a right protected under international law and under municipal laws, including the laws of Federation of Nigeria, where you can find it at Chapter A9, Laws of Federation of Nigeria, 2004. Article 20 of that very law, the Nigerian law, which was codified in 1983, provides that self-determination shall be legal, and oppressed peoples shall have the right to free themselves from the bonds of oppression through means recognized by the international community. So Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been engaged in this enterprise of self-determination since, let's say, since 2015 with the members of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. Now, as I said before, that very law says through means recognized by the international community. That self-determination that Mazi Kanu has been pursuing, he has never done it through any illegal means. He has always demanded for referendum. Referendum is recognized by international community. Referendum is not a crime in any non-municipal law or under any international law. So when the law of Nigeria says self-determination shall be legal if it is pursued through means recognized by the international community, and someone is pursuing self-determination demanding for referendum, and then you begin to charge that someone with several offenses. So all these allegations or the offenses that Mazi Kanu is facing in court right now sprang out. They are all products of this self-determination, the quest for self-determination through referendum. And Section 36, subsection 12 of Nigerian Constitution says that you cannot charge or try any Nigerian of any offense not found in any written law in Nigeria. The principal offense, the main offense Kanu is being charged with is secession. It is written there boldly. It's one of the counts. As a matter of fact, I see it as a major count. So they are charging him for making radio broadcasts from his location in UK, expressing his intention to secede from Nigeria. If you go to the Nigerian Criminal Code Act, which regulates offenses in the southern part of Nigeria, and the Penal Code, which codified offenses for the northern part of Nigeria, you will not find anything that says that secession is a criminal offense. So that's why, we have maintained this position that the offenses are unknown to law. Others are reason and so on and so forth. And of course, there's one particular one that says that charge him for defaming the character of the president. And how can you defame the character of somebody who is not a compellable witness? Under the Nigerian Constitution, the president is immune from being summoned to court to testify. He's not a compellable witness. So how can you charge Mr. Kanu of defaming him when the president will not be available to testify in court as to his character? So these are the things, the challenges that we have noted in these charges, and that led us to believe that charges are not grounded in law. Apart from that, there appears not to be any scintilla of evidence that can point to anything that can prove these offenses in court. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for this information. Before we go further, I would like to touch on the issue of the member of the parliament, Andre Hunko. He is, as I've said, a member of the German Bundestag for the parliamentary group of the Left Party, and he's a member of the. He has been a member of this Bundestag for, I think, since 2009, and is a very important person when it concerns the issue of the European Council. I think it's called the European Peace. He has been Andre, you have been in the European Peace since 2010, if I'm correct. Okay.
Well, maybe I can explain what I.
All right, go ahead. So I wanted to make a brief statement before you can then continue, but you can go ahead and explain. So
thank you very much, Robinson, for this invitation. It's an honor for me to be here present. I'm now just re-elected member of German Parliament. Dealing with European affairs mainly, and I'm as well member of the Foreign Affairs Committee in the German Parliament. So that's of course as well dealing with Africa and Nigeria and the whole world. And I'm member of the Council of Europe, but the Council of Europe is not dealing with states outside the 47 member state of Council of Europe. So concerning the situation in Nigeria and Biafra, I have to say that I'm very new in this issue. I try to understand the conflict, and I have to say I'm very worried about the developments in the last weeks and months, because it seems that there is the idea of having a kind of military solution to oppress the independence desires there. This seems the politics of the Nigerian government. I'm as well very worried because I think in 2017 the how do you spell it? IPOB, the indigenous people of Biafra, is
you are correct, sir. That is IPOB.
Yeah.
Yes.
IPOB,
yeah,
is labeled from Nigeria as a terrorist organization, so Mr. Nnamdi Kanu is seen as a head of a terrorist organization. This is what is very worrying me, because I observed the development in several states trying to solve these kinds of problems in these terms of terrorism. For example, in Turkey, it's a big problem there. What I understood so far is that no Western state, not the European Union, nor the US, nor the UK, is following that characterization by Nigerian government to see IPOB as a terrorist organization. Maybe Mr. Barrister, you can maybe you can
explain
Yes,
about this. But as far as I understood, so far there is no support for this position of Nigerian government. And I'm very worried as well about the circumstances of the arrest of Mr. Kanu, probably in Kenya. All what I could read is it's not 100% clear, but through Interpol. So it's a bit a strange issue, because in Interpol it's out in the statutes of Interpol there should be no arrest on political issues. It's in the statute of Interpol, so maybe Mr. Barrister, you can as well explain about this. I have read that there are some so-called friendly nations of Nigeria who are supporting the line of Nigeria, characterizing IPOB as a terrorist organization. Maybe you know more about this. I could not find it out. So what I can do, I try to follow the situation. I try to understand what is the position of the German government. I think I can try to follow the position of the European Union, which could be an important player in the whole process. and I can make a request on my government and make it an issue in the German Parliament. So that's my position and situation at the moment. But in general, maybe last word. In general, I'm very much in favor, and I think it's the same what you said, Mr. Ejimako, that there has to be a dialogue solution in Nigeria and not a military solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think the points you have made so far is understandable. I think you are here actually, like you said, because you are not just a member of the parliament, but you have a role to play in the European communities, like other areas such as last time you were essentially observing the election in Uzbekistan. Yes. And those are the things you do that makes you also important for the issue of Kano's discussion. Could you tell us what you how it is when you were in the Tokai? You were in the Tokai 2014, 2017, and I believe 2017, 2011, perhaps. So you observed the election.
Yeah, I've been several times in Turkey, maybe a dozen of times. I've followed the situation very close, and the problem was, and I think it was 2015, or when the government lost the elections in Turkey. The AKP had no own majority anymore in June. I think it was 2015, I'm not sure. There was a swift, because this was when the pro-Kurdish left-wing party HDP entered the parliament for the first time, because they had a 10% threshold. They could surpass this with 13%. And then there was made a decision to try to have a so-called military solution in Turkey. And since then we have a new wave of big problems there. We have lots of arrests and so on. And I have to say the European Union is very heavily criticizing the way Turkey is using the term terrorism, because Turkey uses it for every opposition, and so that's a misuse of the term terrorism, and it could be, I'm not so familiar with Nigeria, but it could be that it is the same idea what is going on in Nigeria. Misuse of the term of terrorism for maybe civic opposition movement, for independence desires, and that is I would strongly criticize.
Okay, thank you. So you just mentioned the point, the exact point why I wanted you to arrive to this discussion, because at the same time I want the barrister to tell us from a juristic point of view, if fighting for self-determination is a crime in any place in the United Nations or any other segment of the law in humankind. Barrister, sir, is it a crime? Because I believe that one crime which Nnamdi Kanu seems to have committed is that he's seeking for self-determination of the Biafran. Is it a crime for anybody to ask for self-determination?
No, it's not. I think I had made that point earlier on. Perhaps it didn't quite come out clearly. But before I say anything further, let me most sincerely thank the German parliamentarian for his interest in the Biafran. It will go a long way to spotlighting the plight of the Biafrans to the international community as a whole community. And I was quite touched and grateful they made that up before the German Parliament. That will go a long way to helping to save lives. Because yes, as he said, or as he suspected, the Nigerian government is applying a military solution to what is primarily or basically a civil or political conflict that requires dialogue, not bullets, not military solution. It doesn't even require the participation of the judiciary. Nobody needs to be prosecuted for engaging in acts of self-determination or for being inquest of self-determination. Because what I think is going on, the international community needs to understand that self-determination appears to be an inconvenient political opinion to the government of the day in Nigeria. So what the government is doing in means of punishment or and channels of punishment, the government of Nigeria, mostly two, prosecution and military action. This military action has led to a lot of extrajudicial killings of innocent people. The prosecution has turned from prosecution to persecution, and all because of what he says, I want a separate country. There is nowhere in the world that such things should draw the kind of countervailing measures the Nigerian government has levied against the indigenous people of Biafra and Biafrans as a whole for merely possessing a political opinion. So that brings me to declaration of IPOB as a terrorist organization in 2017. That declaration, for the information of the Parliamentarian and any listener out there, was done ex parte. It was done without notice to IPOB or Mazi Nnamdi Kanu or to his lawyers. What happened is that the Attorney General of Nigeria just walked into the chambers of a judge and made a request by himself to the judge in chambers, not in open court, that IPOB is a terrorist organization. And the judge gave him a court order saying that IPOB is a terrorist organization. So, but that court order has been appealed. Normally, when a court order is appealed in Nigeria, what that court order says should happen doesn't happen until the appeal is decided. But in this very instance, the government went ahead to implement the court order despite the pendency of the appeal. And I can tell you, factually speaking, IPOB did not meet the elements contained in Nigeria's Anti-Terrorism Act of 2015 to be declared a terrorist group. That very act, especially at Section 2 of the Act, clearly characteristics the threats must possess before it is declared a terrorist organization. IPOB did not possess those characteristics in 2017. IPOB does not possess those characteristics in 2021. So the declaration, even though it was done on the strength, on the presentation of one party only, also lacked evidence indicating that IPOB was engaging, perhaps why the international community did not fall in line, or no nation in the world, in the civilized world, recognized what Nigeria had done in 2017 by declaring IPOB a terrorist organization. Okay. What we have seen, yes. So what to conclude, let me conclude that.
All right.
So yes. So it's a convenient tool chosen by the government in order to, lay the military option against the IPOB. Thank you.
All right. So actually, what you are saying is that in a same word, okay, let me not say in a same word, in a normal lawful procedure, the declaration of IPOB as a terrorist organization would have been an unlawful move on its own as well, because the rule wasn't done accordingly. I mean, the declaration of IPOB as a terrorist group. Now, could you please, Nnamdi Kanu left Nigeria. I mean, one of the accusations is that that has kept coming up in the media is that Nnamdi Kanu jumped bail. And this is the narrative most mainstream media has purported, I mean, in the whole discussion. Could you please shed light on this issue of jump bail?
Yes, I can. He never jumped bail. Jumping bail is a volitional act. It's a voluntary act. It carries a certain element of intention on your part, premeditation, to evade the long arms of the law. Okay? You don't jump bail without knowing that you jumped bail. There is a knowingness, a voluntariness. What happened in September 2017 is what should be open to question. Man ran for his life. This was a man that was free of bond, relaxing at his house. Then all of a sudden, on or about 10 September 2017, a detachment of Nigerian security forces led by the army went to his residence and commenced military assault thereon. 28 people were killed, dozens were wounded, several were abducted and taken away to unknown locations. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was lucky to escape with injuries. That's what happened. And from that very date, the entire locale of the Federal Republic of Nigeria became too dangerous for him to stay. It wasn't just the locale of his premises. The army declared him wanted, dead or alive, declared him a terrorist. And the rules of engagement of Nigerian army when it comes to making contact with a terrorist is to kill, to shoot to kill, not shoot to maim, not shoot to wound, not to arrest, but to shoot to kill. So Nnamdi Kanu's life was in danger throughout the territory of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. What led to that was an involuntary act on his part. He never premeditated. He was waiting for his next court date, the very next month in October. So the very party, the federal government of Nigeria had already had him in court, gained jurisdiction over him, and knew that he was free on bond, went to his house to kill him without court order, without nothing. He wasn't convicted and condemned to death. They didn't go to arrest him. Somebody said, oh, maybe they went there to arrest him. How can you go to arrest somebody and kill 28 people just to arrest one person? Okay, so actually, going by the lethal nature of the attack, the magnitude, the only conclusion that could have been drawn by any reasonable bystander or victim, such as Nnamdi Kanu, was that this was directed at getting him killed. So he made a lucky escape. He didn't jump bail. So even if he jumped bail, if anybody jumps bail and manages to leave the territorial boundaries of that very nation and makes it to another nation, his rights, human rights, don't depart him. If the government of Nigeria encountered Nnamdi Kanu in Kenya, even if Nnamdi Kanu jumped bail, he didn't, but let us assume that he did and made his way to Kenya. If Nigerian government encountered him in Kenya, they were supposed to give him the benefit of extradition, not extraordinary rendition.
Yeah, now
so
you are talking.
Jump bail or not jump bail did not mean that Nnamdi Kanu was bereft of his human rights as a person. Thank you.
Okay. So remember, you still have to lead us to this very important discussion that we have just raised. Extraordinary rendition is it's become like a song that everybody knows from your mouth. It's not a song. The issue of Nnamdi Kanu is a terrible thing. We can see that he went through serious human rights, serious abuse of his human rights in Kenya. And we know the word extraordinary rendition from your mouth. Can you shed light to that? How does it affect the life of your client? And what does it mean to justify, in context of Nigerian government as a country that should abide to human rights?
Yes, you see, to break it down and for some of the listeners out there to understand the concept of extraordinary rendition, let us take a private citizen, for instance. If I come and take you by force without due process of law, without authority of law, I have kidnapped you. Or as some people would say, I have abducted you. So this is exactly what Nigerian government did. They went to Kenya and kidnapped Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. So when government goes across national boundaries and forcibly takes a suspect without due process of law, that government or that country has committed extraordinary rendition. It's a direct opposite of extradition. Extradition is a lawful process through which a fugitive suspect found in one nation can be transferred to another nation that has interest in putting him for trial. Every country recognizes extradition as the only process through which you can accomplish the transfer of a convict or a suspect from one nation to the other. Even Germany has the same law. Kenya has it, Nigeria has it. So it's not difficult to understand. It's not rocket science that Nigeria, a member of Committee of Nations, a member of United Nations, a member of African Union, bound by international treaties, obligations, conventions, protocols, should in 2021 cross into Kenya, take Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, put him in a private jet and rendition him to Nigeria without allowing him the benefit of undergoing the due process of extradition as codified under Kenyan law. That is what extraordinary rendition is, and is inherently a form of torture. So when a nation commits to put the rendition straight to trial, that's not just a theory. It has already happened in practice in several nations. And the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, Nigeria ratified in 1979 and codified as part of her own domestic laws in 1983, provided at Article 12 that no person, no citizen of Nigeria or citizen of Kenya, no African found in any country in Africa can be expelled from one country to another without due process of law. So that's another way of understanding that Mazen Nnamdi Kanu was expelled from Article 12 again of the African Charter, to which Nigeria is a state party, prohibits what happened to him. Even under the Nigerian Constitution illegalized arbitrary arrest, because the government of Nigeria is saying, oh, we arrested Nnamdi Kanu. Okay, fine. Arrest can be illegal. It can be arbitrary. So when you arrest somebody without due process of law, it becomes arbitrary arrest, which is prohibited under Chapter 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999. There are other international legal regime, like treaties, protocols, and conventions, like the United Nations Convention Against Torture, and other protocols promulgated thereunder. And of course, companion African human rights legislations at the continental level, to which Nigeria is also a state party, that prohibited extraordinary rendition by name. It mentioned extraordinary rendition and said, extraordinary rendition is hereby prohibited. And he went on to say, nobody, no suspect, no convict shall be transferred from one nation to the other without the due process of law called extradition.
Let me ask Mr. Honko, because I think we have a similar case in Europe. I'm saying with regard to that of the Catalonian case, Puigdemont. Sir, could you say something concerning, or let me ask, do you see similarities in that of Nnamdi Kanu and Puigdemont? And what happened to Nnamdi Kanu? Would it have happened to anybody in Europe?
Yes, indeed, there is some similarities to the case of Catalonia and the case of Puigdemont. On 1st of October 2017, there was a referendum in Catalonia. I was witnessing this referendum. I was in Catalonia and observing the situation. And it was only a referendum, and Puigdemont was the then president of Catalonia, and afterwards the whole government of Catalonia were arrested, or they had to flee, and Puigdemont and some others fled, to most of them to Belgium, to Brussels, and in between he was arrested in Germany through Interpol as well, like Mr. Kanu, and the German courts refused to extradite Mr. Puigdemont, and the same did later the Belgian courts. So so far, Puigdemont lives in Belgium, but Spanish states wants to get him, but according to the Belgian authorities, he will be not extradited. So there are some similarities. The problem we have is that we have in the international law, we have two principles, and it's always a question how to deal with the two principles. On the one hand, we have the, as Mr. Barrister said, we have the principle of self-determination. On the other hand, we have the principle of territorial integrity of states, and these are often conflicting interests. And the question is, for a civilized nation, how to deal with this question. We had a situation in Britain where there was a respect for Scottish independence movement. There was a referendum which would have been accepted, but there was no majority for this. So, but this would have been accepted. In In Spain, it was called illegal, as it is probably in Nigeria. So that's, but I see as well some similarities. Of course, it's not that violence involved in Spain and Catalonia. It's more, let's say, it's not in this brutality. I've seen how brutal are things at the moment in the region of Biafra and so on. But to understand the situation, I would like to be interested who is supporting Nigerian government in this. Is it Britain? I'm not sure, because Britain is not does not see IPOB as a terrorist organization. But as far as I understood, there are strong relations between Nigeria and Britain, stronger than that of Germany. Germany is not a central player there. And is there any debate in the British public or in the British Parliament? Do you have contacts to British MPs? Because Britain is, I think it's for your conflict much more important than Germany is. Maybe you can tell me something about this, Mr. Barrister.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Should I?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Okay. Parliamentarian uncle, he raised a very important question. Yes, diplomatic politics, it teach influence, not German fear of influence, but German pressure can still be brought to bear in a bi-directional, and I'll tell you why German outrage is justified. In 1984, Nigeria, under the current president, when he was a dictator in 1984, he was a soldier, and he came into power through a bloody military coup. So he was in charge. He was the head of state, a military coup. Now, Nigeria in 1984, under the current president, attempted extraordinary rendition of a certain Nigerian politician named Umaru Biko. I think he's late now. I think the parliamentarian may recall he seems to be a highly read, highly traveled, knowledgeable man. They put the Nigerian agents went to UK, London precisely, captured this man, put him in a crate, and marked the crate diplomatic baggage, took the crate to the airport and attempted loading the crate into a Nigerian Airways plane that had flown in to London for that purpose. They drugged the man, and inside that crate, I think there's an Israeli physician who collaborated with them, who was injecting the man with substances to keep him comatose. So they attempted to load this crate containing this human cargo into the aircraft when a vigilant British intelligence officer at the airport spotted something funny about the crate and stopped them and then questioned them. They were not very credible. So they opened the crate, and lo and behold, there were two men inside. One, the Israeli physician, and the man that was going to be rendition. So Britain, frustrated that rendition. And what happened? Britain broke diplomatic relations with Nigeria for 2 years. Britain arrested 17 persons in connection with this attempted rendition. They convicted 4 and sentenced them to various terms of imprisonment from 6 to 8 years. They deported many of them, including the Nigerian High Commissioner equivalence of an ambassador, the High Commissioner, Nigerian High Commissioner, was expelled. Most of the Nigerian diplomatic personnel were expelled. The Nigerian aircraft was arrested, and the pilot was nearly arrested, but he made a lucky escape. And the world community was applauding Britain. The conscience of the world community was shocked at what Nigeria tried to do. Umaru Diko British citizen. He acquired nationality several years ago, probably just about 15 years ago, and acquired British nationality. And he had publicly on his radio broadcast renounced his Nigerian nationality. So Britain has more interest in Nnamdi Kanu than they had in the man that was nearly renditioned in 1984. But we have not seen adequate countervailing measures or outrage from the British government or the High Commission here. I know that they have tried, but my thing is that they haven't tried enough. I am the one that is in contact with the High Commissioner here, but I know they are trying to reach out to Kanu, but that's not enough. Britain needs to come down heavy, very heavy, upon Nigeria and Kenya to make inquiries, faith inquiries. Where is our citizen that entered Kenya in May 2021 and suddenly found himself in Nigeria? What happened? And if Britain finds out, discovers, confirms that Kanu was not subjected to extradition process in Kenya, but extraordinary rendition, it lies with Britain to roll out
Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, Mr. Hunka, I think the barrister have problem with his connection currently. So, yes, I think we still need more light on the issue of how Germany can come in or help in the case of Nnamdi Kanu. I think we still need some elaboration in that context. However, let me ask you something, because I remember or I heard about a certain Bridget Johnson from Togo that has a similar case with the government of Togo. She is a member of the opposition. The difference, however, between Nnamdi Kanu and Bridget Johnson is that Kanu is already in the prison and Bridget Johnson not. So I want to ask you, sir, I mean, you moved a motion of parliamentary, protect parliamentary, something like that. Can it be extended to Nnamdi Kanu?
Well, I think the main difference between Bridget Johnson and Nnamdi Kanu is that Bridget Johnson, as far as I understand, she's a member of parliament in Togo. And this program, we have a program in the German parliament. It is called Parliamentarians Protect Parliamentarians. And so I can make a motion and ask for accepting a person in another country to be part of this program. And I raised this motion in the case of Bridget Johnson in Togo. and it was accepted. So officially, she is part of this program, which is mainly a symbolic issue.
Yes, I know it's symbolic.
But it's not. I think it's important. In some special cases, it doesn't has to be formally a parliamentarian, a comparable figure. This could be maybe Nnamdi Kanu, but I'm not sure about it. And it could be a possibility to do it, but we have to approve it if it's possible, and
Okay.
because it's I think it's a more probably for the chair of the human. It's decided by the chair of the Human Rights Committee in the German Parliament. Now we are in the process of building a new Human Rights Committee, and we will have a new chair. I don't know who it will be, but I think it's we have to prove it. We have to
vote
to check it
Okay.
if it's possible.
All right. So, and
Robinson, maybe one question as well for the barrister.
Yes.
What's now the process? What's going on? The trial against Mr. Kanu. What is the next? How you see the next months, or is there a central date where we have to be, which we have to be aware of? How it's going on? What do you expect in the next months?
Yes, the hearing, the last date the hearing was done, or the case came up in court, was 21st October. On that date, it was adjourned to 10th November. So we expect to be in court on 10th November, but on 10th November, we don't expect any trial to occur. I had made it clear from the beginning that there's going to be trial within trial. I don't think it's appropriate for the court to jump to trial without conducting an inquiry, a judicial inquiry in the court, inside the hearing, as to how Kanu got before the court. So this was a man that was granted bail by the same court in 2017, and he got missing. He was supposed to be a ward of the court. He was supposed to be under the protection of the court. And then suddenly he's before the court. So it's proper process, proper thing to do is for the court to inquire, make an inquiry as to how Kanu got before the court. If Kanu is before the court without due process of law, then that's a challenge to jurisdiction of the court. It's a barrier to prosecuting Kanu. That is the motion that we are going to move on the 10th November, and then we see how that goes. Hello?
I'm here, all right? Okay, so
Yeah.
Another question I would like to ask you, sir, is Mr. Honko, I'm referring to you. You have the so-called small question, if you will, or kleine Anfrage, something like that, on the Bundesparlament, on the issue of Biafra and Nnamdi Kanu by extension. I know you did something like that, or you had the intention of doing something like that, or have you done it, sir?
No, we are checking what could be a meaningful questioning of it's a question to the government. The problem is it's only, we can only ask what our government did. I cannot ask what is Kenya doing or what is Britain doing. I can only ask what our government did, and I'm still in the process of trying to understand what is the position of our government in this case. For example, I could question, will the German embassy in Lagos, will they observe the trial of Mr. Kanu? Will they go there? This is or these kinds of issues. But so far we did not proceed with a formal question to the government, but it could be that we will do it.
Okay, thank you very much. So, I mean, you have had the answers from the right source, that is Barrister Ejimako, the attorney of Nnamdi Kanu. You've had the stories, and then I think it's left for you to know if you can get to him if you need more questions. It's possible, and I would say to Mr. Ejimako, Barrister Ejimako, there is the recent news, however, is that the case which was supposed to hold last on 2nd of this month was adjourned. Why?
Well, yeah, that's a case I brought an originating action before the High Court of Abia State, seeking for the enforcement of Kanu's fundamental rights. It's somewhat different from the one in the federal capital, Abuja, because fundamental rights cases are considered sui generis. They are considered special status cases. Kanu's fundamental rights were violated, that's my position, in 2017 when the armed forces went to his house to kill him. And his rights continue to be violated all the way to Kenya. There's an unbroken chain of causation that did not stop with the attempted extrajudicial killing in Abia State, Nigeria. It continued all the way to Kenya, where they captured him in hot pursuit and renditioned him to Nigeria. So this created new and separate grounds of action, separate from the criminal allegations that they are pursuing in Abuja against him, that compelled me to approach the High Court, where this thing started. The Python dance or the attack occurred within the territorial jurisdiction of that High Court, seeking enforcement of his fundamental rights. The government has responded, with no defense. They responded with applications for extension of time to file their defense, and these applications are pending. I opposed the applications. Normally, I wouldn't have opposed such applications, but this is a very sensitive case, and fundamental rights actions are supposed to be concluded quickly, and my client is in detention. He's been in detention for 4 months. And he's being detained by the very people that renditioned him. If I can make an analogy, Kanu's detention by the state security services in Abuja, Nigeria, is akin to giving custody of a rape victim to the rapist. The people detaining him are the people that renditioned and tortured him in Kenya for 8 days. So I do not trust in the propriety of that. So I want to get to this case in Abia State as quickly as I can, because I'm not asking for bail. I'm asking for what is entitled under the law, which is to release him unconditionally and allow him safe passage to his country of usual domicile, which is the United Kingdom. So the case was supposed to be heard on 2nd November, probably on the motions of the government to file their defense out of time. It wasn't possible because the court did not sit. So for that reason, it was adjourned or postponed to 19th November. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we are almost to the end of this discussion, but before we go, I want to ask you a question personal, sir. You've been so much involved in the issue of trying to, free your client Nnamdi Kanu from the Nigerian custody. And despite this effort you have been making, there has been also situation and that came up whereby you are highly criticized, or some people say, I mean, things that doesn't actually happen. I think, I do know you're a professional, but no matter how professional we are, I still think that sometimes we are also at the mercy of our emotion. I would like to know, do you sometimes feel like you can't handle this again? I mean, or do you tell the Biafrans that you will continue to work for Nnamdi Kanu till eternity, till you bring him out?
Well, first of all, I was trained in America and under the best traditions of ethical commitment to my clients. I am rock steady. I am committed to representing Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and members of the indigenous people of Biafra, who I believe are being persecuted in Nigeria. That's my position as a lawyer. So anybody, that is putting something out there on social media or in the form of criticism, I don't consider those people to be part of my clients. I don't think any true Biafran is unhappy with what I'm doing. I don't think any true IPOB member, those in Germany, UK, anywhere in the world, the US, they are very, very happy with what I'm doing. Nnamdi Kanu is very happy with what I'm doing. I have his 100% confidence, and that's what matters to me. So anybody that tries to put out any negative vibrations out there in the public, I consider that person not to be a member of IPOB, or the person may be working against Kanu's interests, because you cannot have it both ways. You cannot use the name of Nnamdi Kanu and the name of IPOB to spew hate against his lawyers, members of his family, people closest to him, or his deputies that he left behind, to manage some affairs. So those people that might be against such conduct, I consider them to be the enemy. For want of a better word, I use the word the enemy, because when you are doing something that interferes with the efforts to seek the unconditional release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, or to alleviate the conditions of this predicament, then you are the enemy. You are not a member of IPOB, you are not a Biafran. You must be the enemy. So that's just the way I see it. And such things give me more strength. It means I'm doing something right. It means some people are not happy with the fact that I'm doing something right. So that makes me stronger and more committed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And I thank you, sir, Mr. Hunko. We thank you very much for participating in this conference. And once again to Barrister, thank you very much. Like you've said, like James Hadley Chess, one title I remember said, a golden fish has no place to hide. So yes, you are a golden fish. It's inevitable that people will criticize you, that people will come against you. And like you've just mentioned, you don't even know who exactly is behind this action. It could be the enemy. So anyone who is doing that is essentially an enemy. It can't just be a good one. Thank you very much, and thank you to our viewers that have been able to listen to this discussion. We would like to tell you, could be having this type of discussion every now and then. So we thank everyone who has worked so hard to make sure that this very discussion come true. Thank you very much, and wish you goodbye. Sir, Mr. Hunko, do you have a last word for us?
No, thank you very much for this interesting debate. I think we will follow up the situation of Mr. Kanu and the situation in Nigeria and Biafra, and I hope there will be a solution come out of dialogue, not of violence.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hunko, the parliamentarian. I appreciate you, Biafrans that I represent, and IPOB. I speak on their, I express their appreciation on their behalf to you for your efforts, and I ask that you do more to alleviate their suffering in Nigeria. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.
That's all for everyone. Thank you. Thank you, viewers.
you.